Okay, this is like the billionth time I've recorded this video. This was going to be a review, then there was going to be a review about a bunch of other stuff. But the big run for Splatoon just happened, so I thought I'd have that in the background. Some of the runs that I did and stuff, and just have a bit of a chat about the stuff I was going to talk about, but just how I'm thinking about the channel and on the channel and just everything about that, and then maybe like skew off into other topics. So hopefully it'll be an interesting video. So, um, I think the main thing I want to like start on is channel wise. I think I don't necessarily want to do like one thing, which I think is most represented by the model, because initially it was going to be like all Splatoon themed, but I saw a model, um, I guess template that I really liked and had a lot of customizations options, and it seems like a good like branching off point in terms of like design. Like there's a lot to work with in terms of what I want to take away from it, or not necessarily take with. There's workarounds. Like I'll keep the kind of orange, blue eyes, the black, the black in the background of the eyes, and the blonde black hair and stuff like that. So there's a lot to take away. Definitely the scars, because obviously I feel like based on every time I draw a character that remotely refers to me, I have scars. But basically, yeah, I'm a little I guess lost in terms of what I want to do going forward with YouTube stuff, but also just kind of worried where I fit. And I think at the moment what's really helped that is finding like a kind of, I guess, streaming community that I feel comfortable enough to actually talk in and not just like lurk in the chat and never really properly say anything. So that's been nice. It's been it's given me a point of like, oh, I have, even if I'm not like some, I don't have to like be successful on an island and then have the privilege of communicating with other people. I can communicate with other people while I work on my own thing, which feels nice in terms of like, at the moment it's a hobby, but the whole point of like of this is to make it my like job thing. Well, job thing, but yeah, something I can be paid for, like um, ad revenue wise, because other things haven't exactly worked out. So, and this is something I like care about. But yeah, that is the main thing that feels more stable. It just requires me to like be in the right frame of mind to like record or stream and stuff like that. And there's technical issues and things like that, but it feels a lot more tangible and fixable compared to the other stuff, which is like, um, I never really talked about it, but like, um, I was a big Marvel fan before like Endgame stuff, and then like the movies were declining, and I feel like that would have been fine if you just like course corrected and just like tweaked a few things. But yeah, I do think that the like those since 2019, it hasn't exactly been a great year, a great couple of years to be like a Marvel fan where you're like, this stuff is either bad or actively like contradicts the past, or it's just like insulting to me as like a person or a fan of, yeah, the things before this, and your response is to like call me a bigot or tell me it wasn't made for me, when like the whole reason you're here is because it's made for you. Like it's like going to McDonald's, asking for a burger, they give you pasta, and then when you complain, they go, "Well, this wasn't made for you." I was like, "Yeah, but I asked for something specific. I paid you money for something specific, and then you didn't give me that, and then I complained because also it gave me food poisoning on top of that, and you still found a way to make it my fault that you failed." All of that happening to Marvel, then Doctor Who, then uh, game wise with like Spider-Man 2, that was really disappointing. Even though I have it on I have the first one on PC, so I can't even play that one. It just it feels like, I don't know. Creatively, people are going in the same direction, but acting like every time they do it personally, it's unique. And then when it gets backlash because people don't want to be like lectured to in the thing they're trying to escape in, they're trying to escape. And then you like ruin that thing for them, you're going to get backlash because all of this stuff matters to people. Like the games they play, the movies they watch, all of that stuff. As much as like the easy remark is like, well, it doesn't matter. It's just a video game. Then why are you changing it? Why are you coming into a place that you don't belong, or you're not willing to learn the like culture in it, and then disrespect it, and then say, well, it doesn't even matter. So what's your problem? It feels like a two-pronged problem of it's people coming in with a specific agenda of like either politics or like their own like hurt that they're reflecting in the screen, or just they feel that something is popular so they can hijack it, and they are like trying to steer it in a direction that is like unnatural instead of like going um like like um like how Power Rangers did it in like in general, where they have a set like group of people, and if they make it diverse, no one really cares because you're there to see like the fighting and like the power of friendship type thing. You're not really looking for a specific um, depiction of like the Sentai shows. You're going there for the Power Ranger versions of that. So it gives people a lot more wiggle room, but it restricts it in a way because you're working off the footage of the like Sentai show. So I feel like Power Rangers is a perfect example of like, if you acknowledge, if you say to the audience straight up, these aren't adaptations, these are our own versions of a thing that already exists, we're just using footage, it gives you a lot more wiggle room. Because the Power Ranger, like, I don't know why I'm going on Power Ranger fandom, but the Power Ranger fandom is like pretty like loyal, even through like rough patches, which I don't really see how you could have a Power Rangers rough patch, because it's a pretty simple formula. Get a group of teenagers or young adults together, have them fight monsters, and have them slowly build a bond with each other. It's like, it's hard to fuck up. But I digress. Yeah, so that was yeah, that was basically a way of me saying you have a real world example of it being done well, and it just feels like you in terms of like Marvel stuff, or just in the adaptations in general, um, it always falls on the. Okay, when I say adaptations, I should probably explain that. This is a bit of ramble. This is not a scripted thing, but say for example, I I want to adapt like Iron Man, and with the and I want to do it like perfect like one-to-one thing. That's fine, and you can do that, but there'll be certain give and take you can like have naturally, and you could do that. The MCU didn't do that. They were like, they modernized it, so it was like, oh, it's not Iron Man in like an iron suit. It's Iron Man in like a modern setting. So the tech is like amped up to where the comic books were. They're like, things are different, and that's fine, and people clearly like that. But the MCU was never trying to like be a perfect copy, and couldn't be to some degree. of the comics, and nobody like was upset because they understood the rights of stuff and the fact that you're trying to tell a bit more of a grounded story compared to like move a comic book movie in the traditional sense of like uh there are like Fantastic Four movies. Those, give or take, were pretty close to like the comic books in terms of like the feel, the like whole family dynamic of the Fantastic Four. But like the Avengers movies were a bit more like grounded, depending on which superhero you're talking about. And even the X-Men movies were very campy initially, but like the whole like black leather suits, and then they finally embraced the yellow ones, and it was like, you felt a bit. It was like, oh wait, weren't you making fun of these in the first one? I was like, yeah. But anyway, my point being that it's it's a real bummer to still like literally have the things you like the DVDs or like I don't know figures or whatever it is, or like the memories of them. But it's a frustrating thing of like, oh, I wait for like years or like months for the next installment of this thing, and now it's being like hijacked by people or being twisted by the same people who made it good, and then when you complain, they just basically tell you to piss off. It becomes very frustrating because it feels like the people who like bullied you in school for liking these things are now in charge. And I think it was someone like Star Wars theory or something when he was talking about the acolyte. Um, how that was his feeling, and I feel like it's that in everything. Where it's like the people who like would call someone like a nerd, like in a negative context, are the same people who are now making nerd shit. Like one of the actors for the acolyte, I remember seeing an interview where she was talking about how Star Wars was always patriarchal, and now it's nice to have a woman in charge. And my immediate thought was like, you're such a tourist at her. Like you haven't seen Star Wars. You haven't like when it comes to leadership in terms of like military leadership, most like the focus is on like either Leia or I think the like Buzzcut. I don't the lady from Acolyte. I don't remember the name specifically, but when it comes to like the talk, like the politics in terms of like being in charge and trying to lead and govern things, there are lots of like women in Star Wars. Like the fighting stuff is more like the guy thing. Like Luke is not a politician. Like Han is not a politician. Like and they trust Leia in terms of like her leading, and she was in the rebellion longer than them. So it's like you clearly don't care. You just either want a patriarch or you want to feel like superior and powerful or whatever. So it's just cringe. It's very very cringe. Okay. So I think the next thing, on a bit more of a positive note, now that I've got that kind of said, is basically after having that feeling for ages and kind of just I don't know, feeling relatively like what's the word? Because it's not. I'm not like literally ostracized. No one's coming to my house and going, "You're not allowed to enjoy these things." I just don't enjoy them, and it feels like it's been designed like that. And then, yeah. So I basically went, "Oh, I as a kid I watched like Dragon Ball Z. I've like played lots of Dragon Ball Z games all my life. I like Naruto. We had one of the Storm games growing up as well on PS3. Like, why not explore that a bit further? And I think the first, I always watched um, Power Rangers, Beyblade, the Metal series, um, Dragon Ball Z Kai on like one of the Freeview channels, and then Naruto here and there. Those were like my childhood animes. I didn't know they were animes at the time because I just saw cartoon, pew pew, cool. And then later on, I think the first one was like the first season of Sword Art Online, and then well, the part one, I was like, oh yeah, this is like a solid thing. You leave it in mystery, so it's like, does he find her? Does he not? Like, who knows? And then it continued, and but then I watched other things. Like I remember catching up with like My Hero when it was like the hype was like season two tournament arc hype. I had only just like started watching, and that was cool. Um, First watching Black Clover, which I still need to finish. Um, a bunch of other ones. There were a couple where it's like I don't know the name, but there was one called Game, which was like a rom-com thing I really liked. It was definitely like there was enough there that like I could just get debilitated by not knowing what to pick, but also um, I didn't feel like it was apart from like cringe lines by people who don't care. It I like the odd cringe lines of like it because you're translating from Japanese to English. You can only like fuck with the dialogue so much, which I was like, which is why I still watch dubs, but I'm now way more picky with the dubs I pick. Like if I hear a certain voice who I know is like a localizer who like it actively doesn't care about the show they're adapting, or they're gonna call people like losers for caring, I'm gonna avoid that show because I actively don't want that person to have that attitude and still be like in the space acting like they're like part of the crew. It's like endorsing a bully. Like and I don't feel like that's cool. Like as much as I like, you can. It's not even about what the politics or whatever it is. If some like Christian like pleb was coming in and every like couple lines they were like, "Isn't God great?" in like some like your cartoons, it would be cringe. Like even if it was just like if it was a British TV show and they dubbed it in American for whatever reason, it like American slang and stuff for whatever reason, and they had added lines like that, it would be just as cringe as when you take a whole other language and you filter it through your cringe. Like, I'm good. Especially when that cringe is like trying to morally grandstand to me when like you're being the very thing you're trying to like complain about. So yeah, that's literally the only problem I have, which isn't an anime problem. It's like English filtering problem, which I feel like can slowly be fixed with just getting people that give a shit. Which is why, as much as I have a Crunchyroll account and I watch my like my favorites there, I also have a high dive because I never have to worry about, oh, is this line inaccurate? Is this line gonna be political? I can just watch a show and like it, and that feels good. I can like chill out. I don't need to like click on a show and go, oh, what is it? Am I gonna? Do I have to brace for cringe? Do I have to brace to be like shut on for no reason? Like I don't. Yeah. But yeah, that's basically where my head is at in that in terms of anime. I basically just like I like anime. Localizers are cringe. To the point where it's even starting to like trickle down into like Dragon Ball, where I saw tweets of like the like dialogue where Vegeta tells Trunks that he'll take him to an amusement park, and Trunks is like, "Oh, you serious? Oh, that's sick." Or that's so cool in like the original Z, where he just acts surprised like a kid, and in the translation, this clip is literally the dialogue is like, "Oh, no cap," and it's like Trunks Trunks wouldn't say that because he's not a modern day kid. Technically, he's a kid from the like 90s, so he would just so your slang is already cringe and stupid. But like the original thing, I think there was also other dialogue of like Kefla saying like L, like using basically Zoomer slang. And my immediate thought is, you don't get a pass on Trunks, and he was born and raised on Earth. So how the hell do you get a? How the hell do you think it's gonna go down with like Kefla, who is an alien from an entirely different planet? Why would she have Zoomer dialogue? With, yeah, it's just it basically was very. I was very acutely aware that the Dragon Ball is a very like normie anime space. So like as the more distance I can have with the like community, the better. I'm just gonna enjoy the show and enjoy the games. I'm not gonna like go in and be like listen to the like hot takes of like people who are like only are like Dragon Ball fans. Not to like shit on Dragon Ball fans, but to like the like superficial version, like superficial version of it. So like, I'm not gonna go on Twitter to search the like to see the like scale of what like people who like Dragon Ball talk about, because it's probably gonna be like cringe in terms of the things I care about it. Like in terms of like when they change dialogue, they're gonna be like, oh, it doesn't matter, who cares? When it's like, well, you are actively changing the original dialogue of it, and to the point where people complain about that already in terms of like when um, when the show originally got translated into English, a lot of Goku's lines in English were like sanitized. So instead of Goku wanting to just like kill the enemy, he was talking about how good he was and how you should become good and all that. Was like this. It fundamentally like didn't get Goku, and people complained, and I can understand that even though I'm someone who grew up with like um, the English dub, I can still be like, I enjoyed it, but if I had the original, I'd probably enjoy. On top of enjoying it more, I would have got the actual version. I could have been able to gauge whether I liked it or not. When you can't do that, when you're too busy going, oh, I think they're having fun. So if they're having fun with their localization, who cares? Lots of people, because you're not getting an accurate depiction. You're getting some plebs fun, and I'm not here for your fun. I'm here to watch something from another culture and see this specific author's perspective, not your localization. In conclusion, on a bit more of a positive note, I'm at the point where I'm able to articulate how I'm feeling about stuff, which I feel like is a good thing because I couldn't always do it. And the last point in terms of like, I don't know, media and cringe stuff, I guess, is um I think my favorite part of like, I guess, nerd stuff is like seeing people's interactions and like disagreements and talking about it and having a bit of a back and forth, and also doing that with my friends. Like, I have one of the last really good conversations I really liked with one of my friends is I watched The Boys season 4 all the way through, and I really didn't like it, and he really did, and it was a nice to bridge that gap and see where he was coming from. Whereas like, so for me, I I really liked the world of The Boys, and the characters were secondary. So once the world crumbled, I didn't really care about the characters, especially when for me they degraded even further. So there was nothing really to hold on to, and season 4 was kind of like the 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 final nail in the coffin. But for him, it was very clearly like a character thing. He cares about these characters, so he like the journey. He's like in it for the long haul. He's like there till the end. So it was like seeing where our differences were and seeing kind of how we got to different conclusions. Because normally, in terms of watching of like shows and things, we're relatively similar. Like we both watched Invincible, and in terms of like talking about it, because I think we did like a podcast, and you're only going to see episode one. That shit's never seen the light of day, and throughout the entire show, we were basically just like glazing the show. See, episode one, solid. Let's break it down. That was fun. Episode two, da 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 da. Until we got to certain points where we disagreed, and I feel like, for me personally, those are memories that I'm like, oh, those are really fun, because it was like the weird nerdy shit where we could go back and forth of like what worked about the show, what didn't, blah blah blah. And my point is, the whole like you don't like this show, you must hate XYZ, which you can say those people exist, sure, but you're not talking about those people. You're just talking about the nerds who want to be, who want to express their opinions, and you're saying they're not allowed to because it's clearly coming from a hateful place, when that's just nerd shit. So not everyone likes everything, and sometimes those things clash, and it can be a positive or negative thing. Just because you don't like something doesn't mean you're a bull in the china shop. Sometimes you just sat down at the table and you shared an opinion, and it could either go negatively on both ends. The positive people could be cringe and tell you to get out because you inherently are like a problem. The negative person could do the same, or vice versa. You could go into a group of negative people, you know. But my point is, like, I feel like where we're at now in terms of like talking about stuff like shows, TV shows, whether it's like nerdy or not, we're at a point where like you have to like caveat your opinion with I don't care what you have to say, these are my opinions, when it it immediately assumes hostility, and the hostility at this point is probably already there to some degree, but it's just it feels sad to me because the whole point of talking about stuff is to have a discussion. Like, I would expect this video, if it were by some bigger streamer or YouTuber, to get a lot of eyes on it and have people talk about what I said here. I'm not against that, because that wouldn't make sense, because otherwise I wouldn't be posting it. So that's kind of the video, and that's kind of where I want to leave things. Yeah. Thanks for taking a tour in my head. I appreciate you listening, whether you listened that long or didn't. Yeah. My point, my fundamental point is, I want to get to a place where, even if things aren't good, I'd want it to be. I want like a movie to be bad because it failed trying to be good, rather than it failed because it tried to lecture you about something that either is like no shit Sherlock, or is more complicated than the like 5 minutes explanation it's had before it called you a bigot, or the opposite end of um like if imagine if really I also don't want the opposite, where imagine if every like Christian religious movie where like the morals were always like God is king, God is amazing, the only way is God, were like all we saw in like mainstream stuff. That would also be cringe, and I would also hate that. I don't want Iron Man becoming Bible Man. I also don't want Thor becoming I don't know, Thor who fights only for like against racist. Yeah, it's all cringe. Please stop. Don't. Let's reach a middle ground where if we're going to talk about politics, like take the time to like do it properly, or don't do it at all when it comes to stuff where it's just gonna get divisive, and you have no intention to do it well. Yeah. Okay, bye. Okay, there's a last little bit I wanted to mention about the big run. I was able to kill all three bosses at once, but I kind of forgot to record. So here's a screenshot, and also another screenshot of the badge. Also another screenshot of zoomed into the badge on my banner. Ain't that cool? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Look at it. Yeah. Bye.